Joel Haashiim. I'm running for mayor of the city of Detroit, November 25. I am a graduate at Cooley High in '69. Had a little bit of college. 20 years old, started business. Ended up with 3 party stores in Detroit. Sold those stores, went into wholesale. Started selling to chain stores after a couple years of wholesaling to the party stores in Detroit. Started selling to Kmart, Spartan Chain, Winn-Dixie, Pier 1, etc. Stayed with that for approximately 20 years. Then going into an energy business with MCX Energy out of Atlanta. Eagles Nest Home Rep. Detroit Ready Wall partner and Ready Wall International, building concepts for homes or buildings. And then fast forwarding to now, starting up importing products again out of Africa. My platform is a empowerment platform for the community, for the people, for the residents of the city of Detroit. And pretty much want to focus on the community and all of the things that's needed in the community today that we don't have. So my priority is to improve the quality of life for the residents in the city of Detroit, to make sure that our children and our grandchildren have a future in the 21st century and in generations thereafter. So in short, I'm for the people first. I think the biggest problem for the city of Detroit residents is that the 75 to 80% of the population that of the city is not politically, economically, educationally empowered. And I think we're lacking in those areas. So what we need to do is produce functions that is going to allow us to work on each of those empowerments to bring the community up, to improve the quality of life for the people. The first thing I'll do is call for a forensic audit. I think it's important that a representative of the people take care of the people's money. We'll go through each city department and do what we can to make it more efficient, and of course cut out the waste and utilize whatever we find to start to improve the quality of life for the community by sending those resources toward the Detroit City retirees, senior citizens, homeless. We plan to put safety service centers throughout the city. That will encompass something like a mini police station, but 24 hours, first responders, mental health. Each one of these facilities will have a mental health facility as well, shopping center, and opportunities for entrepreneurs to rent space for their business at a reasonable rate so that we can start to produce economic empowerment throughout the communities of Detroit. Yes, sir. The most important thing is that we need to understand that right now we see an economy going south nationally. We do not have a strong local economy for the community. Pretty much the corporations and the rich are controlling the economy, the local economy in Detroit. So if the auto plants, which is the biggest part of the economy, the local economy, if they should go down or have layoffs, it's definitely going to negatively affect the city of Detroit's economy. So what we will do is, I've done 15 trade delegations. Detroit is an international city with no international businesses. So in order to start bringing in international companies, you have to, first of all, begin to take the residents of the city of Detroit and train them for those jobs that are to come. And in doing so, you're now giving them an opportunity to compete in the 21st century in careers and occupational wages, with occupational wages. So basically the 15 trade delegations that we did, one of the biggest ones was out of Detroit, which went to the Gulf states. You may know that the governor just left the Gulf states a few weeks ago with some type of trade deal or business deal for the state of Michigan. Well, we want to do that for Detroit. And so all of my trade delegations, especially the Middle Eastern trade delegation and the Chinese delegation, we were bringing in opportunities for jobs. Wanted to bring in a microchip factory back then that they were willing to put in the city of Detroit and train the residents here in the city of Detroit. So we would look at the international trade, bringing in more and more international companies. Atlanta, Georgia has 1,500 international companies. They have a diverse economy. So Detroit does not have a diverse economy. So I will go to work right away within the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, bringing in international companies, as well as existing domestic companies that are looking for another place to come to do business. So basically, that's very important when we look in terms of how are we going to build a local economy with different sources of revenue. I want to look at Detroit City Airport. I want to look at how we can bring revenue into the city treasury utilizing Detroit City Airport, becoming sister cities with the Caribbean and South America, etc., so that we can actually promote trade and business at the same time utilizing Detroit City Airport. If you have an international city, you must have a transit system. I would first of all finish the Q line, take it all the way to Woodward, and then we would work on bringing a transit system from Metro Airport to downtown Detroit. Then we'll begin to integrate mass transit on certain streets where we can connect people where they need to go. Now you can also bring in companies because you have a decent transit system. Nobody wants to come to Detroit if you can't produce a decent transit system. First and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to produce a financial literacy program to make sure that we set a program up to help people up to the point where they can qualify for a home. Understanding that Detroit is short some 400 to 450,000 people. So we have to now focus on how to build quality, affordable homes at a reasonable price. Today, that's very challenging because of inflation. Building materials have skyrocketed. And so now you need someone with experience and an understanding how to build quality, affordable homes at a reduced rate. So we can build 25,000 homes in the city of Detroit. We can produce 10,000 resident jobs from $22 to $50 an hour. And we can build these homes rapidly, but they're not prefab, they're not cheap. They have all the benefits of a quality home. And so that's what we can put in motion, understanding that 10,000 homes in Detroit or anywhere now, you're looking at approximately $2 billion on the low end, and on the high end, about 325,000 to build 10,000 homes. So what we will do is to, of course, reduce those rates, utilizing materials, building materials, quality materials that gives us the option to build affordable homes. And then working with the community through the financial literacy of assisting them in building up their credit so that they can qualify for a home. We'll also begin to build less rental housing, but more home ownership, because we know that contributes to generational wealth. So we would also increase the townhomes, condos, and other concepts where we can actually fix it so that people can afford it. Now, because of the high prices of homes, we'll introduce a 35 to 40-year mortgage so that people can afford those homes until they can get into a pay scale that allows them to buy more expensive homes, etc. But basically, the startup will be fixed so that we can qualify people for homes. That's a great question, because a lot of people are concerned about that history being erased. So some of the things that we would do is, for example, the I-375 corridor, where our people were gentrified. Over 100,000 people lost their homes, hundreds and hundreds of businesses, because they decided they wanted to build that. And so what we would do is, now that that can be usable land, we'll make sure that it's historical. Maybe we'll even build something like a Hastings shopping center, Hastings empowerment zone, where we can put in not only housing, but also businesses, etc. So that will also help to assist in building that economic foundation that our community needs here in the city of Detroit. And so we can look at how hotels, and it's only a few minutes from downtown Detroit, so we definitely could build a corridor and improve the quality of life. And here again, I think the historical value of the city of Detroit and its communities is very, very important for our children and our grandchildren. I think Detroit public schools are rating somewhere around 170th in the nation. So what needs to happen is, Detroit, we need to pull a few million out of our budget and see where we can help DPW, Detroit Public Schools, and charter schools as well. We must prepare our children for the 21st century. We also would like to set up a Detroit City Academy, where maybe from the 11th and 12th grade, they can go to an academy by the city, where we set up where they can get opportunities into the fire department, police department, and other city departments. So that if they didn't want to go to college, or if they have a GED, that we have an option for them to go into city jobs. Detroit residents need to be first. We need to, before we bring other people from out of town and from other places, we need to make sure that our residents here in the city of Detroit have an opportunity at those jobs, at those city contracts, etc. Inclusion, very important. When you have a city that's 75, 80% Black, but they're only getting 10, 15% of the city contracts, there's something wrong with that picture. So basically what we need to do is what Coleman Young Sr. started to do, which was to make sure we were inclusive. What Maynard Jackson did in Atlanta, make sure that the community was inclusive. And we see the results of what Atlanta has produced. 1,500 international companies, along with numerous black businesses all over the Atlanta metro area. That can be done here in Detroit. And also we'll set up some type of system to make sure that whatever money we set aside for business or entrepreneurs, that more than 20% gets to the business owner. We had a situation where it was reported that almost 80% of those business funds went for overhead and consultant fees. It needs to go to the business owner, and this makes a big difference in building that foundation for economic empowerment. I think this is a critical moment. I think this is the most important election for the city of Detroit since its existence for the residents. The reason for that is because we're in uncharted waters. Economy-wise, it's very challenging right now to know which way the U.S. economy is going to flow, how the auto plants are going to do, how businesses are going to flourish in a downsizing economy and job loss. The reason I think I'm the most qualified to be mayor is Detroit needs international businesses. We need a diverse economy. We need to build it from the bottom up. And so there is no other candidate that has 15 trade delegations under his belt. Also, when we look at our platform, it is an empowerment platform. It is for the people. I'm not against the corporations and the rich. I'm about working with the corporations and the rich. But we must understand that this is a period of time when we need the people to benefit from their tax dollars. The people need to be empowered in the city of Detroit. The people need to have opportunity for ownership in the city of Detroit. If we don't do it now, then we'll be plagued by the same problem for the next 50 years. We must have change, and the change must not be toward any direct person. If we miss this opportunity to build an economic foundation for the first time in the history of the city of Detroit, and maybe the history of Black America, that we actually have an opportunity to produce 10,000 jobs and billions of dollars going into our community by producing different streams of revenue. If things continue the way that they are, we will only get the same. If the other candidates that have been corporate assets at the expense of our community, it's important that we as a people understand gentrification. Gentrification happens in Black America 99.9% of the time. And the reason why it happens is because when you are a majority population, the only way gentrification can take place is through people who look like you. If the majority population is white or other, they have the power to run a freeway through your community. They use eminent domain. But if it's a majority Black city, the only way that you can be gentrified is that there are people who look like you have served the corporate interests and not your interests, the people. I think my greatest achievement, if I had to single something out, it would be because when I became a wholesale distributor and started selling to chain stores, there were no Black people selling to chain stores in the United States. You can count them on your hand. It was like 3 or 4. And that's when Famous Amos came in with his cookie. There were not very many black people who were wholesale distributors. They had products on some supermarket shelves, but it was a very, very hard door for me to open. And I was able to open it by just making sure that I had products that the retail chains could make money with. And so that was an area of my life that's began to give me the confidence to move into trade delegations, building trades, and other areas of business. My environmental company, my energy company, all these different things started from me understanding that I had to open up doors that were not going to automatically open up for myself. I think the most important lesson I've learned is who I am, who are my people, how they think, the many diverse ways that we think, and how we can come together with a common denominator, regardless to religion, regardless to Afrocentric ideas, regardless to just all the differences that we have, how to actually bring us together so that we do become an empowered people. That's the one thing we don't have after 465 years in America. We have votes, but we don't have political empowerment. We have money, but we don't have economic empowerment. Other people come to this country, they're not limited. They have a language, they have a culture, and most of them are the same religion. They have the same like experiences, so they come into the country empowered. We have to do something different to become an empowered people. We cannot continue to hand our children and grandchildren a dysfunctional system where we're always begging, we're always late, dollars short, etc., etc. If we want to change that, then we must have someone that's going to be brave, courageous, intelligent, knowledgeable, with wisdom to do the things that we need to be a viable community in Detroit and in this country. Yes, sir. First, I'll be mayor for all the people. Secondly, I want to make sure that we open up the lines of communication to all segments of the community. So monthly, we'll have a meeting and they'll be able to share their needs, their concerns, and we will be working diligently on solving or bringing solutions to those problems. Well, the first thing I'll do is I'll finish that queue line. I'll bring in transit from Metro Airport to downtown Detroit. I'll also make sure that our special needs community have viable transportation. I'll also make sure that our system is changed, the logistics are set up so that we have transit running every 10 to 15 minutes in the city of Detroit. Well, we have to look at these environmental issues of these companies that are being allowed to pollute our water, our air. We have a high incidence of sicknesses due to asthma, et cetera, with our youth, one of the highest in the country. We'll look at also making sure that these homes that are being sold, the Department of HUD, they will not sell a home if it's not been environmentally cleansed with a certificate. A lot of the homes still have mold, mildew, and fungus. A lot of our schools still have mold, mildew, and fungus. They have lead, they have asbestos, etc. So what we will do is begin to not only study it, but make sure that in the studying, we come up with a solution, what we can do to make sure that Detroit's environment stays clean, that Detroit's water also needs to be improved. So we will take all of those measures to make sure that we have a healthy city and the residents are not negatively impacted by the pollutants from corporations and housing and schools and other buildings. I think that's the most important thing right now. When you talk in terms of safety, well, that's those safety centers we spoke about. We would set these safety centers out throughout the city, and it will be a situation where they can, for example, you can have a mini city hall, so people don't have to travel downtown and deal with the parking situation. We'll have the police 24 hours. We'll have mental health as well as the medical staff in each location throughout the city. So at the same time, to make sure it's a vibrant area, we're setting up the mall, we're setting up supermarkets, we're setting up everything that community needs, as well as opening it up for entrepreneurs to be able to find a place to lease that's reasonable, because a lot of business people are doing business out of their homes. They can't afford the high rents now. So what we would do as a city is make sure that we make a level playing field so that entrepreneurs can rent a building or lease a building that they can afford. All that would be in that service center area, safety area. And so people can begin to feel comfortable walking to the store, comfortable that help is near in any situation. Yes, sir. Well, here, the most important thing here is bringing in revenue into the city of Detroit. And if you don't have any connections for international trade, if you don't have a way to bring in or attract domestic businesses into Detroit, now you're in a scenario where you've got to find a way to infuse your local economy. And that's why I shared, not only will we look at housing in Detroit City Airport, but we will also be bringing about a number of other ways where Detroit can become independent. We have proposed for a public bank. Detroit needs their own public bank. And so it could do so many things as it relates to end redlining, help to solve our insurance problems, our high insurance of auto and home insurance. And so what we're doing is cutting out the middleman, and we're starting to utilize not only Detroit City budget, but our own public bank to finance urban projects, to bring about the type of local economy that is infused. We have to have options here, and those options clearly state that we're going to be in financial trouble. We also have those obligation bonds, and I'll also dip into wherever that $300 million came from for City Council. Just increased the budget of Detroit $300 million. Where did that money come from? Is it going to raise our home taxes? Is there a bank account somewhere holding city money? Where did that $300 million come from? So if that $300 million account is there, what type of interest is bearing, etc. All these different little intricate parts of a local economy, we need to make sure that we're utilizing everything that we have to improve the quality of life and to prepare for this economic scenario that you just spoke about. If you don't have any understanding of economics, if you don't have any ability to bring in international companies, if you don't have a way to control your own resources, then we can almost say it could be a repeat of the 1930 Depression, where people had no money and food in Detroit and had to go to Eastern Market and find food where they could. I think that's a part of our history we need to know and understand, that during the 1930s, how many people living in the city of Detroit, they had to go to Eastern Market and open up that dumpster and make a meal. And one more thing to that. When I was growing up in Detroit, we had fruit trees everywhere. And yes, I was a part of those guys that was raiding the cherry tree and the peach tree and all of those, ran out of the yard. But we had fruit trees all over Detroit, apple, pear trees, etc. So what I want to do is address that issue. I want to make sure Detroiters don't have to be hungry. I want to work with the co-ops here. I want to work with the advocates for hunger and homelessness. I want to make sure that we actually prepare for the worst case scenario here in the city of Detroit. Not just be, using simple one-liners saying, yes, we can, or together we can. No, we need to plan. We need to be strategic. We need to produce educational empowerment, political empowerment, and economic empowerment. That's a great question. You must have a balance in everything that you do. Anytime you go out of balance, it's going to cause a problem. And so, yes, we must have balance. We must be able to look at each scenario differently, look at the facts, and ask the question, how is it going to affect the community? How is it going to affect the people in my city? How is it going to affect our children and grandchildren? These questions must be asked. And with that, you can balance out tech, growth. You can bring it together to work in harmony, or you can let it be on steroids, like for the last 40-something years with tax abatements, tax increment financing, tax capture, which ended up hurting our community. I believe I will be Detroit's next mayor is because I'm the one that's best prepared for present day and future in setting up a foundation for our children and our grandchildren. I have the ability to produce trade delegations, sister cities with the Caribbean, with South America, with Africa, with Europe, with China, with Vietnam. So I am the one that have the platform that will really make a difference for the people here in the city of Detroit. They will be empowered. And being empowered means you do not have to beg, borrow, or steal. We can, by opening up these opportunities, we can reduce the crime, we can sit at the table of prosperity, we can deal with the issues of health care, and we can actually stabilize our city to be a mecca here in the United States. We could, Detroit used to be the mecca for Black America. It was the blueprint. It was the Coleman Young Sr. who spoke with other mayors, including Maynard Jackson, and began to show how a mayor should facilitate inclusion in the community. It's not against no other people. It's just that you cannot exclude the majority population from the table of prosperity.